From beautiful Seneca Lake, Sampson State Park in upstate New York, ESPN, the Total Sports Network presents the world's fastest racing boats, the unlimited hydroplanes. Today, it's the Atlas Van Lines Cup. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Hendrick along with Sam Cole. This is the third race of the 1983 Thunderboat campaign. We're in upstate New York. The weather's a little cooler than it was in our Miami race where it's hot and humid, Sam, and also we have a little less, quantity, but the quality is still there. We've had some pretty fast times in qualifying this week.
Yes, we have, Jim. The Atlas Van Lines and Chip Hanauer, a new world record here on this very course yesterday at 132.5 miles an hour. You said it, we have quality, not quantity. We've had two races on the Thunderboat Tour this year. Two different winners, the Rich Plan Food Service and the Miss Budweiser. I think it's going to come down to be a Budweiser-Atlas duel here today, but watch out for that Squire shop. They can sneak right on in there and win it.
And you know what? We started out here last Thursday with qualifying on a 2.5-mile race course. All of a sudden, a driver's meeting, and they shrink it down to 2. Why?
A lot of talk went into that around the safety, crowds and everything else. The spectators, they thought if they shrank the course, it would give all the spectators here at this beautiful site a better way to see the race course out there today.
Seneca Falls, New York at Sampson State Park. It's a 2-mile oval and the water just about right. A light chop as the boats come out of the pits and are taking to the course to warm up as we wend our way toward that 1-minute gun. And Sam Cole, how about bringing us the update on these boats and the starting lineup?
Thank you very much, Jim Hendrick. In this first heat, we have the U1. That's the Atlas Van Lines, owned by Fran Muncie, driven by Chip Hanauer. It's a blue and white boat out of Seattle, Washington. The U2, the Squire Shop, owned by Bob Stile out of Seattle, driven by rookie Earl Hall. And we have the U22, the Miss Tosti, driven by Todd Yarling from Madison, Indiana. The boat is owned by Jim Sedam, and it's red, white, and green. We're about 35 seconds away from the start. Back to you, Jim Hendrick.
All right, Sam, as they come down toward corner number 3, at the start of the first heat of elimination action in the Atlas Van Lines Cup, it's the host boat itself, Atlas Van Lines, with Chip Hanauer out of Seattle, leading the pack up there, followed by the rookie Earl Hall in the Squire Shop, also from Seattle, the Tosti from the Madison, Indiana area, driven by Todd Yarling. So we have 2 rookies out of the 3 that'll be set to go. It's going to be the Atlas Van Lines wanting the inside number 1 lane, I believe, on the hip. In lane number 2 will be the red and white Square Shop, followed by the Tosti. As they come down, we have 3 seconds, no, 2 seconds, 1. There's the start. That's the Atlas Van Lines way out in front, followed by the Square Shop. And here comes Tosti as they go down to corner number 1.
Out in front of everyone in the Atlas Van Lines, and right now he's heading up that backstretch. It's going to be a fast lap, and you know, this week in qualification he set a new world record for a 2-mile course right here on this very race course at 132 miles an hour. Everything's running right here at the Atlas Van Lines Cup for Chip Hanauer.
And now that they've shortened this course down to 2 miles, they're going to get around pretty fast, and showing them the short way right now is Chip Hanauer in first place as he goes down the corner number 3 to come around to complete lap number 1.
That's the gap between Hanauer and Earl Hall right now. Hanauer brings it around the turn 4 here to head down to complete his first lap. As he comes out of the turn, Earl Hall in the Squire Shop is just going into it. And let's wait and see. Hanauer is going to have a pretty fast lap here.
We'll get the time difference now as the Atlas Van Lines have just completed lap number 1. Here comes the Squire Shop, and we'll get a time on him, and he is 11 seconds behind. 11 seconds behind in second place as they go down now to the front chute, and we pick up our leader. Our leader is now coming off the apex of corners number 1 and 2 to shake it loose and come down the back chute. As he does, let's see if we can get some kind of a time.
And you know, Jim, as Chip Hanauer brings it up here, that 11-second gap that you're talking about all happened at the start. Hanauer had everything his way. Hall was very, very late at the start. And as he goes up this backstretch, we're going to take a look here and find out that Mr. Hanauer ran that first lap at 108 miles an hour.
105, which is not too fast, but then again, the speed should be lower in competition. as our leader.
The game here is to conserve equipment, and that's just what everybody's trying to do here right now.
Well, because we're going to have 2 eliminations each of 3 boats each, and then the last elimination heat, all 6 go in before the final. So it's going to be tough on equipment today. Here comes the completion of lap number 2. Atlas Van Lines, Chip Hanauer. Our second place boat is the rookie Earl Hall, as he comes around now to complete lap number 2 in the Squire shop. Earl is a rookie in Unlimiteds, but he's had a lot of success in Limiteds, and earlier today, Sam Cole had a chance to talk to the nice young man.
Earl, you've had 2 very successful races thus far on the Thunderboat World Series Tour. What about race number 3? What's your strategy?
Well, Sam, I think that we're relatively conservative at this point. We're looking to finish in the top 3, certainly with Atlas and Bud, and both boats hammering on each other right hard. Perhaps we can finish up there in second or first spot.
What about Earl Hall? It's your first year on our Thunderboat Tour. You've come out of limited racing where you were always in first place. Does it affect you to not to be able to go out there and have to hold back for your first few races?
Well, I think that it's something that I knew was going to be the situation when I came into the sport, and obviously I like winning, but you have to walk before you can run, and we're going to take this thing one step at a time.
What about your boat? It's not the fastest on the course, but so far this year it's been the most consistent.
Well, consistency won a lot of races for us in the limited boats as well as here, and I think that that's as important a part to the racing as the actual speed.
That was, of course, a conversation that Sam Cole had earlier with Earl Hall, the gentleman who is now riding in Bob Stiles' Square shop right here, coming down to get the green flag for 1 more lap to go.
And here's our leader, Chip. Chip Hanauer on lap number 2 ran it at 105 miles an hour. Lap number 3, it was 102.128. So he slowed way, way down here in an effort to conserve his equipment to make it around here 5 times because, as we said earlier, it's consistency during the day, but as you go into the later heats, you use your equipment more to try to win the race.
Right now, there's going to be a lap put on the rookie Todd Yarling, who's in Tostiasi, moves to the outside and squeezing in on the inside, going toward corner number 3, whose last lap was 105.882, is Chip Hanauer from Seattle, having it pretty much his own way here in the first heat of action, Seneca Falls, New York today. Look at the water come off that rooster tail. What a beautiful sight as he comes now down to take the green flag, signifying 1 more lap. This boat has been running very good the last couple days of qualifying, Sam.
Yes, it has. They had their share of problems at our season opener back in Missouri and Miami at the Champion Spark Plug. We're going to do a better job. Here's Earl Hall, currently a 3rd place boat in National High Points. Hardly 2nd place boat, you're right. Earl Hall's done a heck of a job in that boat. Chip Hanauer said earlier before the race today that they're just beginning to get everything dialed in the Atlas Van Lines. It had a very successful year 1 year ago. His speed on lap number 4 was 105.417 miles an hour. They had a very frustrating year. At the end of last year, they came on and won the races, won the national championship, and here today he's got everything going his way as he enters the final turn here to win our first heat.
It's going to come down to a real dogfight because these 3 boats, of course, the next time they come out, they'll be joined by 3 more. It will be up to 6 boats in our elimination heat number 3. Next appearance, of course, will feature the Miss Budweiser. And that, of course, is a big battle between the Budweiser and the Atlas Van Lines every single year, and it goes back quite a few years. Here comes the checker flag for our winner of the first heat, shaking it loose, Atlas Van Lines. Chip Hanauer now picks up 400 points for a first-place finish as he goes down now toward the pit area. Our second-place boat is just coming off of corner number 4 right now. That's him, the Square Shop, with Earl Hall. He'll take the checker flag for 300 points. Our leader is, of course, already taken the checker flag. He's just doing a little warm-up lap. Sam, how about final order finish?
Okay, as our 3rd place finisher, the Tostiasti, comes across the line, our final order finish will be Atlas Van Lines in first place with 400 points. Second place will go to the Squire Shop and Earl Hall with 300 points. And in third, it'll be the Miss Tostiasti and Todd Yarling with 225 points.
And we'll be looking ahead for more heat action, which will feature the Miss Budweiser, Pure Delight, and America's Speedy Printing. But first, let's take time out for this word. Back here at Seneca Lake, we're all set to go in the second heat of action. And Bobby Howard, right there from Coral Gables, Florida, has not been able to get that Pure Delight engine started. Wait a minute, he coughs a little bit. Maybe he'll get underway. And boy, he's going to make it by the skin of his teeth because he has to be running by the 1 minute gun. And by golly, he's got it going. That was drama. Now we have all 3 boats on the course. And why don't you run down our starting lineup for this one, Sam?
Okay, Jim, the Miss Pure Delight, the U10 out of Cape Coral, Florida, owned by Marlene Howard and driven by her husband, Bobby Howard. It's a blue and white boat. Our second boat, the U40, the American Speedy Printing Special, driven by Fred Leland, owned by Bob Taylor out of Houston, Texas. And our third boat, the U12, the Miss Budweiser, owned by the winningest owner in hydroplane history, Bernie Little. Red and gold and white, driven by Jim Kropfeld, and our current leader in national high point standings. We're about 40 seconds from the start of the heat, and the field is beginning to group up for a flying start, Jim.
Okay, this is our second heat action of the day, and of course Budweiser starts up the back chute now as Jim Kropfeld, the winner of the Champion Spark Plug Regatta. The last race was his first victory at Unlimiteds, and we'll get a chance to talk to him in a little bit, but right now as we look to our left, there he goes. Coming up is the Pure Delight with about 16 seconds to the start of this race. Bobby Howard getting underway just by the skin of his teeth. They must be running an on-plane by the 1 minute gun. I don't know where our driver here, Fred Leland, thinks he's going to go, but he's going to come up here and make a start on this side of the buoy. With 1 second to go, Fred Leland will take the clock. Well, now, Sam, that's unusual. I don't know what the rules are going to read, but Fred Leland knew he was late. He cut through the course, did not go around corners number 3 and 4, and he snuck inside and made what he thinks is a legal start. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. I'm going to have to find out and get a ruling on that.
Well, Jim, I'm sure that's going to cost him a lap or a penalty of some sorts, because in unlimited racing, you have to go through that final turn. Leland was having some mechanical problems, but Jim Kropfeld and Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser has no problem at all right now as he goes up that backstretch in first place. Jim Kropfeld, the winner of the Champion Spark Plug Regatta, and as you see our lead there, Kropfeld's about 8.5 seconds ahead as Fred Leland takes aim on Bobby Howard in the Pure Delight going up the backstretch for second place.
And right now, Bobby Howard is being passed by Fred Leland, but I don't know. We'll have to get official ruling. Bobby Howard's Pure Delight is starting to go way slow and having some fuel problems. You can hear him kind of thrust his engine there in the background. While our leader, the Miss Budweiser, comes off of corner number 4 to come around and complete lap number 1. And he'll have 4 more laps to go on this 2-mile course here at Seneca Lake. Jim Kropfeld, young man from Cincinnati, Ohio, many-time champion and winner in the limited class, won his first unlimited race last year. And now he's down to corner number 1 with a great big lead over his 2 adversaries. Whoa, the Budweiser slides sideways, and you saw him right off of that corner number 1 and goes around now. He kicks in. Our second place boat just comes down here to complete lap number 1, and that would be American Speedy Printing. 105.572 for the Budweiser on lap number 1, Sam, and that's pretty equal to what the Atlas did in his victory the previous heat.
Yes, it is. As you see Fred Leland slowing down there in the American Speedy, he had engine problems. We're back on the Miss Budweiser now. Jim Kropfeld, a second-year driver out of Cincinnati, Ohio. His speed 105.572. There's a very dejected Bobby Howard in the Miss Pure Delight. He got underway in the nick of time, but something gave way in the engine compartment, but I'm sure he'll be back later in the day.
Well, maybe that late start, he tried to warm it up too fast. Here comes the Budweiser. As he comes down to complete lap number 2, Jim Kropfeld. Jim Kropfeld, of course, a week ago at Miami's Marine Stadium, the Champion Spark Plug Regatta, became victorious for the very first time after a long racing career. Victorious very first time in Unlimiteds. And earlier today, Sam Cole had a chance to chat with Jim Kropfeld about that.
Jim, no matter what the sport, they always say winning the first one's the toughest. You've got the first one under your belt. What about number 2?
Well, it's all downhill now. Not really, but after you get your first win, it makes it a lot easier. You know that you can do it, and you know you can beat the best competition in the world out there. So it gives you a lot of confidence to be able to go out there knowing that you can do it.
Well, unlike auto racing where asphalt is asphalt, every race course you're on is different each lap around. How does that affect you?
I think it affects us quite a bit. I was surprised today. We ran all weekend, and Friday and Saturday the wind was blowing from the opposite direction as it is today. We came down today and it shifted 180 degrees, and we were planning on it being set up the way it was yesterday, and all of a sudden we've got to completely change our tactics and go in the opposite direction that we were planning on.
Well, you mentioned that word wind. What does it mean to a hydroplane team?
Well, it means a lot. We're set up to run, well, let's say 170 mile an hour, and if you run 170 into a 20 mile an hour wind, you actually run 190 on the airspeed, which is getting close to the critical point in the way we set up in competition. So we run one direction into the wind, and a boat wants to fly or kite, and then when we turn around and go with the wind, it actually drives the nose down onto the water real hard, and it gives a good pounding to the boat.
All right, that's the conversation with Sam Cole and Jim Kropfeld. And now the leader is coming down to take the green flag. He's picked up his speed from 106, and Sam, I think he's over 113 on that last lap.
Yes, he is. 113.924 miles an hour for Jim Kropfeld in Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser.
Here he comes now to complete lap number 4. The green flag is out. One more lap to go. Boy,
you know, I think the officials are going to assess Fred Leland with a one-lap penalty there for that infraction that he had earlier in the American Speedy at the start. You're not allowed to cut in like that, but it didn't seem to bother Mr. Kropfeld as he goes by. But Leland committed a mistake because you're supposed to go through the entire turn before coming down to start a heat. Leland cut inside and tried to slide in to make it a good start.
But I'll tell you this, it doesn't really matter because he's with Bobby Howard in the infield now and just watching the rest of the parade go by. Mr. Leland will take second place points, but if he has any problems with the engine on the extra penalty lap, he could finish with no points. But I'm sure that the referee and the officials, Mike Noonan and Fred Alder, they're going to talk to that young man for sure. 109.924. 109.924, and there's Bobby Howard, who got just into this race by the skin of his teeth, but something happened there on the back chute of lap number 1, and he's just watching the rest of the parade go by. Here's the checker flag for Miss Budweiser, the winner of the second heat. Bernie Little's Miss Budweiser, the driver Jim Kropfeld from Cincinnati, and they have 400 points. So, assuming now that our second place boat will be the American Speedy Printing, let's see if he's going to get that extra lap. Let's just watch. Now, here's what gives us the indication in our broadcast booth for Sam Cole and myself. If now with the American Speedy Printing coming around, he could get one or two things. He could get a green flag, which means you're okay. He could get no flag, which means you're penalized, or he could get a black flag, which means go to the pits immediately. And as we look up there, he's getting the black flag, Sam. The black flag.
And that means he's disqualified automatically for that infraction. There you see it waving on our monitor. Fred Leland disqualified in the American Speedy Special.
Well, he's looking over now as if to say, well, what did I do? But the winner, of course, right there, Miss Budweiser, and a dejected Bobby Howard in the pure delight on the infield, and now going immediately toward the pits with the black flag and disqualifications for that illegal start by not taking the outside of the buoys and trying to dodge in from the infield to take the starting line on the gun. Disqualified is Fred Leland. We're where the action is. We're in the pits of the Seneca Falls Atlas Van Lines Cup, and this pretty young lady standing next to me is the lady I met back in 1968 in the pits of Mission Bay, San Diego, California. At that time, Fran Muncie here didn't know a hydro if it hit her, but she met her then-to-be husband, Bill Muncie. The rest is history. Now, you've run the team. This is your second full year. Last year, you took everything over. You told me, we're not going to do too much, but we're going to try, and you won it all. What do you attribute to that?
We didn't expect to win anything. We attribute a lot of it to maybe Bill's spirit being with us and a lot of luck and hard work.
Okay, now you have a driver that has really done the job for you.
Oh, he certainly has. He's such a wonderful person, too.
How about your crew? Do you feel that you're a unit, a family? I know a lot of people do not know it, but we travel like gypsies, really.
We do, and we have to be like a family. We have to get along because we're together every day. No one ever seems to get on the other's nerves, so it works out very well. We're very close.
You mean there's never any fights in the Atlas Van Line camp?
Never.
Just a little argument?
No, really.
That's wonderful. You know, speaking of Atlas Van Lines, of course, this is their race, the Atlas Van Lines Cup. Fran Muncie, you haven't won anything so far this year. In fact, you had your real problems in the first race of the year, getting no points, but you came back strong in Miami. What do you expect here today?
Of course, we hope to win. It is going to be a lot tougher this year. The other boat camps, the Squire, the Budweiser, Richland Food Service have all done their homework this winter, and so our job is cut out for us.
Well, no matter what you have to do to win in unlimited hydroplane racing, its number one ingredient is tough work. And speaking of a man who set a 2-mile world record, 131 point, it was 131?
132.9.
132.9 on the 2-mile course. speaking of that driver, Sam Cole's with him right now, Chip Hanauer. Sam?
Thank you, Jim, and with me is Chip Hanauer, the driver of the Atlas Van Lines. It was a year ago that Fran Muncy committed to stay in hydroplane racing, and part of that commitment was to build a safer race boat, which Bill Muncy and the Atlas team have sought after. And Chip, in 1982, you revolutionized the sport somewhat by putting airfoils or wings across the front of the boat. You've compounded on this year where safety lies ahead of speed in terms of goals, isn't it?
It really is. You know, if anything, we've lost two of the greatest drivers the name of the sport's ever had, and we felt it was time to do something, to change something, to try and improve it.
Well, when you did that, last year you put the airfoils in the front, and fans across the country saw the Atlas lift out of the water repeatedly and stay on the water. Was it security to you as you drove at those amazing speeds?
Well, it wasn't security, but it gave me a boat that was much more easily handled. You know, if the boat got out of shape, I could recover it, where before, if I hadn't had those winglets, I may have not been able to recover the boat and get it back to a good racing attitude.
Well, you've added to the wings this year by a totally new cockpit design. Would you expand on that?
Well, what we've done, Sam, is we've lowered myself down inside the boat to get me as low as possible to use the boat for protection. Then we've used a seatbelt system to hold me in the boat so that I stay in the boat long enough to take advantage of this protection. And then we replaced the fiberglass cowling, which is this area of the boat here. The fiberglass cowling afforded no protection at all. This is a honeycomb aluminum cowling and is actually the strongest part of the boat. So now I'm surrounded by as much protection as humanly possible.
And for our viewers at home to understand a little bit more, most of our drivers you see on the race car are sitting this high above the cockpit.
That's exactly right.
But now let's show them how Chip Hanauer sits.
Okay, this is where I sat last year. I looked right over the top of the cowling. This is where I sit this year.
And you've added to that. You're down lower, your head's beneath the engine, and most importantly, I think one of the innovations that everyone's taking a look at this year are seat belts. How does that affect you? Is it a new sense of security in the boat?
It really is. You know, before I was using my arms also to stay in the boat, not just steer the boat, but to hold myself in the boat. Now I can relax my arms and use them just to drive the boat because I'm held very tightly in here by this 5-point belt system, which is the same belts that are used in an Indianapolis race car or Formula One race car.
A last question, Chip. The emphasis in Thunderboat racing this year is safety before speed. Obviously, you've taken strides to become safer. Do you think this safety is going to bring on more speed in the future?
I think so. You know, we've made a cleaner aerodynamic boat this way. I can read the boat better. I have a better perspective of the boat. And I think, yes, in the long run, it's going to mean more competitive speeds and safer speeds.
Safety before speed, the goal of unlimited racing in 1983. Jim?